Senator Joe Manchin says he will vote against the For the People Act. That's the sweeping election reform bill his Democrat colleagues are pulling for. He says if Democrats push it through with a budget reconciliation process, it will further deepen divisions. Manchin is also signaling he won't vote for Biden's massive infrastructure package if it doesn't have bipartisan support. And Facebook announced that Trump will remain suspended. They plan to review the decision again in 2 years. This comes as the UK and the European Union launch formal antitrust investigations into Facebook, amid allegations that the world's largest social network is using customers' data to unfairly compete with advertisers. Tune in to Deep Dive as we explore these topics and more. Hello and welcome. This is Deep Dive and I'm Tiffany Meier. A different kind of swing vote. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin says he will vote against the For the People Act. That's the sweeping election reform bill Democrats are rallying behind. Manchin told Fox News the U.S. used to go around the world showing voting procedures and how democracy works. But now he is concerned this reform will prevent the U.S. from practicing what it preaches. He wrote in the Charleston Gazette-Mail, "I believe that partisan voting legislation will destroy the already weakening binds of our democracy. And for that reason, I will vote against the For the People Act." On top of that, Manchin reaffirmed he would not vote to weaken or eliminate the filibuster. With Democrats controlling both houses of Congress and the White House, the filibuster is the only tool Republicans have to influence or block legislation. And it is the only thing stopping Democrats from passing their entire agenda without any Republican votes. The filibuster requires 60 votes to end debate in the Senate, so at least 10 Republican senators have to join with all of the Democrats to pass most bills. And Arizona's Democratic Senator Kyrsten Sinema also said she supports keeping the filibuster. She told reporters last week the filibuster is a tool that protects the democracy of our nation, rather than allowing our country to ricochet wildly every 2 to 4 years back and forth between policies. As for the voting overhaul bill, Manchin criticized both Democrats and Republicans for trying to gain an advantage by politicizing election reform. The For the People Act would eliminate almost all requirements for photo ID, and it would force states to offer 15 days of early voting and allow no excuse absentee balloting. It would also make states implement automatic voter registration and allow same-day registration on any voting day. In the wake of a contentious 2020 election, many red states put forward measures to secure elections. That's by restricting mail-in voting and adding more ID requirements. On the other hand, Democrats are attempting to make permanent the emergency voting procedures used as a result of the pandemic. Manchin's opposition means the For the People Act has a slim chance at best at passing. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, meanwhile, told Democratic colleagues in a memo he will force a Senate vote on the sweeping election reform bill. He called the bill essential to defending our democracy, reducing the influence of dark money and powerful special interests, and stopping the wave of Republican voter suppression happening in states across the country. But the bill is expected to get little, if any, Republican support. Biden, meanwhile, has signaled he will sign the bill into law if it reaches his desk. But it's not just the voting reform bill Manchin is standing up against. He has also indicated he's not likely to vote for Biden's massive infrastructure package if it doesn't have bipartisan support. Manchin says we need to do something in a bipartisan way, telling a reporter in West Virginia, "We can't continue on these types of projects because we were able to bring everything to fruition working through a bipartisan way before. Republicans didn't get everything they wanted last time, as you recall. And basically, we are not going to get everything. But we can move forward, and the president has that desire and the urgency to get something big done." He signaled before he won't support another partisan passage, like with Biden's $1.9 trillion COVID relief package back in March. Manchin calls for unity, saying we've got to bring our country together. We can't continue to split and go further apart. We just can't do that. And we've got to work together, and that takes a lot of time and energy and patience. Adding this is the United States Senate, the most deliberate body in the world. And it was by design, and these take time. He went on to say, "I know everyone's in a hurry right now, But if anyone understands the process, it's President Joe Biden with 36 years of experience or more here. He understands and gets it well. I hope his staff understands also what we're trying to do. This comes as some Senate Democrats have increasingly called for party leaders to stop negotiations and move forward without their Republican counterparts. Senator Bernie Sanders previously said, if Republicans don't want to cooperate and help us seriously address the many crises we're facing today, then yes, we have to move forward without them to rebuild our crumbling infrastructure and create millions of good-paying union jobs. And Senator Ed Markey wrote in a tweet, Republican infrastructure counteroffers so far have not been serious, good faith attempts to confront the crisis facing our country. Adding, this moment demands we go big and bold. The American people don't have time for Republican games. Republicans, meanwhile, have offered up a counterproposal led by Senator Shelley Moore Capito. The latest GOP proposal came in at $928 billion, just under $1 trillion, while the most recent Biden plan runs $1.7 trillion. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg has said if there's no clear direction by June 7th, the Democrats will try to go it alone. They can use budget reconciliation. That's how the $1.9 trillion COVID relief package was passed. But they would need all Democrats on board, including Manchin, to pass it that way. With the current standing, it doesn't seem likely. And according to Manchin, Capito is slated to report to a group of 20 senators, featuring a number of moderates next week. Now, amidst all this political turmoil, let's briefly touch on former President Trump. Facebook announced that Trump will remain suspended. The social media giant announced he is suspended for 2 years until 2023. That's because their semi-independent oversight board says Facebook can't suspend someone for an indefinite time period. Trump's account was first suspended on January 7th. The company claimed he used his platform to condone rather than condemn the actions of his supporters at the Capitol building. Trump told protesters in one video to go home peacefully and also said that he loves them and knows their pain. On January 6th, he told the crowd that they should go to the building, but to do so peacefully and patriotically. Vice President of Global Affairs Nick Clegg defended the ban. He said in a statement that Trump will only be reinstated if conditions permit. In 2 years, they will review with experts whether the risk to public safety has receded. They say at that time, if the risk is still there, Trump's suspension will continue. If they decide there is no risk, they'll set up a strict set of rapidly escalating sanctions that will be triggered if Trump further violates their rules. This could include a permanent removal of his pages and accounts. Trump responded by saying Facebook's ruling is an insult to the record-setting 75 million people, plus many others who voted for us. He says they shouldn't be allowed to get away with the censoring and silencing. And there's been a lot of buzz around alternative platforms, like when Trump launched his own social media blog from the desk of Donald J. Trump. There was buzz again when the page disappeared. Trump aide Jason Miller told The Hill and other news outlets the page won't be returning, adding it was auxiliary to the broader efforts we have and are working on. The page now redirects to a sign-up page to get alerts. And Trump hinted his new social media platform will launch soon. He said in a statement that the blog page was merely a way of communicating until I decide on what the future will be for the choice or establishment of a platform. It will happen soon. Stay tuned. He also said the Washington Post incorrectly reported about the viewership of his blog page, adding the page has received 36.7 million views over the past month alone. According to the Washington Post, Trump's posts has in the last week been shared to Facebook on average fewer than 2,000 times a day. And according to BuzzSumo data, the page averaged 4,000 impressions a day. Miller also said the page wasn't a platform. In a May 4th tweet, Miller wrote, Trump's website is a great resource to find his latest statements and highlights from his first term in office. But this is not a new social media platform. And he went on to say that we will have additional information coming on that front in the very near future. 2 days later, Twitter suspended the account from the desk of Donald J. Trump, claiming that it was an attempt to evade his suspension. A number of world leaders have condemned the move by big tech suspending Trump. They expressed censorship concerns. Senator Bernie Sanders recently said he was uncomfortable with Twitter removing Trump, warning that people with a different view from Trump's could be banned as well. While Facebook has said the ban will be reevaluated in 2 years, Twitter has said the ban is permanent. And on the other side of the pond, the UK and the European Union launched formal antitrust investigations into Facebook. The British government and the European Commission separately said on Friday they would investigate whether Facebook has misused its vast trove of data. The data was gathered from nearly 7 million companies that advertise on Facebook's marketplace. The UK's Competition and Markets Authority says it will be working closely with the European Commission to tackle these global issues. Facebook says it will cooperate fully with both the EU and UK investigations to demonstrate that they are without merit. The EU has fined Google nearly £7 billion and is investigating Amazon and Apple. That's almost $10 billion. But what do you think? Let me know below. Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive. I'm Tiffany Meier, and see you soon.